Fan vocabulary.
I love costume accessories, and I love vocabulary words. This video covers terminology you can use to describe styles and structural elements of folding fans.
First, let's talk about style names. At the top left, you see a fan called a fixed fan, a paddle fan, or a funeral fan. At the top right is a carved wooden folding fan called a brise fan. At the bottom left is a fan with a fabric panel, known as a folding fabric fan. And at the bottom right is a feathered folding fan, also sometimes called a burlesque fan. Here we have a lovely antique fan in my personal collection that I'm using as an example to teach you some vocabulary words. Now, if you look closely at this fan, there is a large curved section of, in this case, printed paper. That's called the leaf. It is glued onto a framework consisting of several wooden staves or sticks, joined at a pivot with a pin that goes through and through, and a little loop of metal on which you could tie a ribbon for a wrist loop. This whole entire frame, the metal pin and all of these staves, is called the fan mauncher. While we're at it, let's take a closer look at this antique fan of mine. So we've got an interesting wood being used here for the staves. The grain of this is particularly interesting. It's embellished with silver metallic paint on each of the staves. And it's deteriorating, but this paper layer has a lovely illustration printed on it. In the 19th century, famous artists would paint or engrave artwork specifically designed to be reproduced on fan leaves. So this arcing shape is one that you can find in the archives of several famous artists. I've looked all over this frame and the printed leaf and can find no information as to who the artist might have been that created this illustration or what maker might have created the fan mauncher itself. One thing that I did find interesting on the back is a layer of fabric. So these staves are sandwiched in between this fabric rear layer and the paper front layer. Now that has helped keep this front layer intact. Other than this section here, I haven't entirely lost the printed elements of the fan, even though we have some damage where they're starting to separate from the fabric back. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for notifications of new content. And join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern for my live studio stream.